Browns have signed a quarterback, and Browns fans are being Browns fans about this, where there are some hot takes being fired across the web about why the Browns are adding a fifth quarterback. And I can understand, a little bit of the confusion and maybe some of the mystery to what's going on, why the Browns signing another quarterback. But we're going to break it down on this at-home edition of the Cleveland Browns Report. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms watching right now. I'm assuming Jacob Surman's mom is thrilled because her son was just signed by the Cleveland Browns, and he played at Northern Colorado last year. So let's get to know Jacob Sirmon for just a few moments here, and then we'll kind of get into, is there something to be said about the Browns having 5 quarterbacks on their roster, and maybe questions about the health for a guy like Deshaun Watson. But Jacob Sirmon, he was at the Browns rookie minicamp, which just wrapped up this weekend, and the Browns did not draft a quarterback, so they needed someone to throw the pigskin around for the wide receivers and running backs and whatnot. So this is not uncommon for teams to bring in a tryout player, right? Jacob Sirmon wasn't even signed to a UDFA contract. They just needed a quarterback to have a quarterback. Now, the surprise is, why are the Browns adding a 5th quarterback? I don't remember the last time a team had 5 quarterbacks on their roster at some point. Maybe I'm missing an obvious example and someone's already commenting it away, but yeah, I don't remember the last time the Browns had 5 quarterbacks, or a team even had 5 quarterbacks. Jacob Sirmon, he went to the University of Washington and then Central Michigan and then transferred to Northern Colorado, where he played the last 2 seasons, 2022 and 2023. He threw 1,300-ish yards and 8 touchdowns last year for Northern Colorado. So we saw a guy like Tyson Bagent last year for the Bears start a few games as a D2 player. So, it does happen every once in a while for these quarterbacks to kind of come out of nowhere. But the real, question that people are having is there an issue with Deshaun Watson and his shoulder, and the Browns are having another quarterback so that they can still have 4 quarterbacks, healthy ones at least, during training camp? I think people are talking about the wrong quarterback. Don't look at Watson as much as you should be. I think the bigger question mark is Dorian Thompson-Robinson, which I know all the attention has been on Deshaun Watson's recovery, as it should be. But DTR, if you guys remember, he ended 2023 on IR. He suffered a hip injury towards the end of the season, which at that point, it was all Flacco, and DTR was an afterthought. No offense, DTR. But he ended the year with the hip injury, and we've gotten some updates throughout the offseason about where he's at in his progress and his recovery. But I think that is the bigger question mark here, is like, are the Browns going to have DTR for OTAs? And hey, that's not a deal breaker. You don't need to have a guy for OTAs. But I think the team would like to have 4 quarterbacks to throw the ball around. And if DTR can't throw, and they don't want to push Watson to the point where, like, they want to have other arms available just to run the drills and whatnot, then they could have a 3rd quarterback if 2 other guys are injured, and Jacob Surman would be that 3rd healthy QB with Tyler Huntley and Jameis Winston. So I'm more concerned for DTR here when it comes to his health and status than I am for Deshaun Watson. I mean, Andrew Berry, what was it? A week ago? Two weeks ago? I remember he was on ESPN Cleveland saying once OTAs gets here, some of the mystery will be resolved surrounding the Deshaun Watson injury status and his update and recovery. So I think this is more of a signing for DTR. I will say though, there's also a possibility that we're overthinking this, and maybe Jacob Surman just had one hell of a rookie minicamp. Maybe the Browns walked out of minicamp going we can't let this guy leave. And quarterback is the most important position in all of sports, and we think he could be a good quarterback. So, yeah, let's just sign him to our 90-man roster. That's a possibility. Maybe not a highly, likely one, just given that it's tough to find NFL talent from the FCS level and, the D2, D3 guys of the world. But they do pop up every once in a while. So I wouldn't completely, dismiss the possibility that maybe Jacob Surman was just lighting up Berea's practice field and the Browns are yeah, let's get this guy in the roster. But if you're looking to be concerned about a quarterback being injured and that's why they're signing this guy, don't look at 4. I don't think Watson is the bigger concern right here. I mean, he spoke to the media and said, this was a few weeks ago, how he's throwing 35, 40 yards, high velocity. Like, it sounds like he's making great progress on his road back. Whereas, like, another quarterback, Joe Burrow, he recently came back from his wrist surgery and began throwing. And, I mean, not identical timelines in terms of when both guys started their rehabs, but it felt like Watson was further ahead than Joe Burrow was. So I would not be losing sleep at night. I mean, Barry said they fully expect Deshaun. He put a higher than fully expect level for Deshaun Watson will start week 1 of this season. I mean, that is the absolute belief and expectation. Now, we do have to at least acknowledge the, I would say, mishandling the Browns had last year when it came to the quarterback room. And just the more like the health updates, right? The injury statuses where Watson, it seemed like he was going to play following the bye, and then he didn't. He didn't play the Ravens game, and on Saturday he was like, I'm playing. And then on Sunday morning it's DTR starting. And then we're like, we'll get the bye coming up, and he should be ready to roll for the Niners after that. And he wasn't ready to roll, and he wasn't ready for the next week. And then he came back from the injury too soon, and he left the Colts game super early. So I think there is fair criticism to say the Browns kind of fumbled at times their language and messaging for where Watson was in his recovery a season ago. So if you want to be dubious, like, I can't hold that against you. The Browns kind of have that coming with just the way they handled last year with Watson and his injuries and whatnot. But I'm more in the camp of this is probably Dorian Thompson-Robinson missing OTAs with a hip injury, and the Browns are like, well, if we're down from 4 QBs to 3 QBs, and that leaves Watson, Jameis Winston, Huntley, and we don't want to push Deshaun Watson. Even if he's ready, it's not worth it for, organized team activities in May. Now you're down to 2 quarterbacks, Huntley and Jameis Winston. And most teams want to have 3 quarterbacks for training camp drills. First team offense, second team offense, scout team, things like that. So I think that's what this is a bigger picture sign of. All right. That will do it for us for our at-home edition here on the Cleveland Browns Report. Let me know if you guys have any genuine concern about Watson and his road back. I don't. Unless everyone's just lying through their teeth, it sounds like Watson is making a really good progress on his injury, and we should be seeing him full speed, 100% ready to roll when things really matter, which is training camp. I mean, that's more so than OTAs for sure. All right, enjoy the rest of your Mother's Day. Appreciate everyone for hanging out with us here on the Cleveland Browns Report.